Okay. No, actually, what we want first would be do internet. What else is there? Some more stuff. This.
Got it.
Yeah, sounds great. Okay, we're going to get started. Thanks everyone for coming. My name's Tom. I'm the Park and Rec Director in New Ulm. Small community, 14,000 people, half hour west of Mankato, southwestern Minnesota. And I'm just happy to have brought together some of our industry representatives to talk about aquatic amenities. You know, some unique and rare, some more common, and then some basic aspects about, you know, some of our aquatic facilities. So I think we'll go ahead and begin that. I've been in New Ulm for 17 years now with the city. Prior to that, 14 years with state parks. Blue Mountain State Park and Flanders State Park in New Ulm, the sand bottom swimming pond. So I've got aquatic experience in third of an acre, 400,000 gallon sand bottom swimming pond at Flanders State Park in New Ulm. So that's another one. Okay, so let's go ahead and play this video, short video about New Ulm, and you can expand it a little bit, you know, full screen. This is our new rec center, our expanded rec center, and our new aquatic center that's in the rec center. Some of the amenities, drop slides, we'll be talking about those. Zero depth entry, there's zero depth entry here. For mobility impaired, and the little kiddie splash play area. This is 3-4 feet in that rec pool area. It's one body of water. And then we have 6 lanes of lap swimming. And we've got the second indoor ninja cross in America above the lap pool. We'll get into that in more detail. So here's our 2-lane ninja cross. 1 lane is beginner intermediate. Where that gal's on is the beginner intermediate lane. Some of the obstacles are in the water or just above the water. And then the advanced lane. No one's made it through the advanced lane yet. It's extremely difficult because you have to support your entire body with your arms, your upper arms. And then that whole system goes up to the ceiling when not in use, or you drop it down during certain times. And we've got an aqua climb wall, just a double wide, and an aqua zip in. I call it the up north at the lake rope swing. If you don't have one of those, you got to get that's it right there. Up north at the lake rope swing, it's a lot of fun. And then we've got the life floor surfacing on our deck. We've got Rick here is going to tell us about that. The best pool surfacing I've ever seen or heard of. It's not slippery when wet, and if you do fall, it's soft and spongy. Did you bring a sample?
You have one.
Okay, cool. So we're almost done going through the new aquatic center at the New Ulm Rec Center. Our old pool, we turned into a gymnastics center, filled it in with sand, capped it with concrete, and we rented to the gymnastics club for $4,500 a month. And so that's the advanced lane. Okay, can we hit pause? Is there a way
Yep.
to?
Ooh, want me to go back?
Let's go forward again. I'll show you some real cool things. Keep going. Maybe too far. Back a little bit and then hit play.
Right there?
Yeah, hit play and then, oh, stop, don't hit play. Okay, these things right here, this is the advanced course in yellow up here. These we call flying saucers, I think, Kyle, right?
UFOs.
UFOs, okay. So they are on a single cable up to the superstructure, and you have to, by your upper body arms, grab them at the same time, like that, or you're in the drain. So it's like, No one's made it past UFOs.
10-year-old girls that do gymnastics fly through this in 36 seconds.
Yes.
Anybody else that tries this, I can't even get halfway through our advanced course. But
Yes.
we design it to failure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, hit play. Thank you, Len. We're gonna try to. So this is some components, again, zero depth entry, recreation area for water walkers and 3-4 foot fitness classes. Then we're gonna jump into a short discussion on wading pools. Next, we have 2 wading pools, one at Washington Park and one at Lincoln Park. They're old, but very well maintained. Like they're not, well, there is a zero depth entry area. And they're, I don't know what, 1-2 feet deep. And they're full blown swimming pools. We use like gas chlorine out here for sanitization and filtration and all that sort of stuff. We used to charge like $1 or $2 a kid. 5 years ago, the city council said no more charging. So we have free use in New Ulm of our 2 wading pools in those 2 neighborhood parks. And then I think we'll go into splash pads next. If you have a question or a comment about anything, blurt it out and we'll pause. We'll keep this very informal. Okay, this is a splash pad done by Jeff over here, Commercial Rec Specialties. It's I think a 2,000 square foot, small, modest splash pad. But the cool thing about these, okay, there's 2 broad categories. The flow through, which just water, you get like a minute or 2 of water spray, and then it goes to storm sewer. No filtration, no chlorination. Super simple. Or the recirculating splash pad, much more expensive and complicated because you're recirculating the water, chlorinating and sanitizing and filtering and all this sort of stuff. And I think we all know what splash pads are. They come in all different shapes and sizes. You can also put the life floor surfacing. Ours is just concrete surfacing, and it works out great. You know, you push a button in the middle of the splash pad, you get like 4 minutes of spray, and then it shuts off automatically. Push the button again, boom. No staff, no lifeguards, no possibility of drowning. So great way to go with splash pads. So that's our aquatic amenities that are liquid in New Ulm, because we have frozen water also, called hockey rinks. So that's kind of a broad general intro. Now I want to save time. Jeff, come on up here. Let's do the commercial rec PowerPoint. Jeff's been in the industry a long time. Give us like a 30-second bio, and then.
So I'm Jeff with Commercial Recreation. I've been designing recreation for 15 years in Minnesota. The company Commercial Recreation is actually in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm officed on the Waconia area, so here in Minnesota. We're about a 40-plus employee company, 3 landscape architects, certified pool operators, myself included, certified playground safety inspectors. We have our own W-2 employee installers, meaning we don't sub it out. Our own employees do the install, so we do everything from, of course, aquatic amenities to items on land as well, right? Playground shelters and shade, which we'll talk about today. But what I wanted to talk about is the trends that I keep seeing in recreation. And of course, we cover Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Nebraska, both Dakotas. So we cover large areas. So I see a lot of different communities in different areas. So we'll go to the next slide.
Okay.
So I want to start out talking about splash pads because I still see in Minnesota that being kind of a hot topic. People are like, can we put one in? What's the advantage of it? Why do we want to put it in? It is an underutilized park. So just so everybody's on the same page, a splash pad is an interactive zero depth aquatic attraction. Probably what you're used to seeing. It's going to be a series of ground sprays that shoot up from below, and there's going to be water cannons and dumping buckets and things that kind of cascade down from above. Next slide. We're going to design splash pads for multi-generation. So they're multi-generational, meaning they're not just for children. They're for the kids, they're for the parents, they're for the grandparents. Everybody can enjoy it. We're going to design it for all aspects, depending on where we put the features and how much water we're going to be using. So they're inclusive because they're inclusive for all ages. They're inclusive for all abilities. So get a nice, clear, accessible access to the splash pad. And we're going to keep all of our slopes in the concrete to less than 2%. So you could be either any kind of mobility device. We're going to design the water depending on the needs of the community. So if they have any sensory needs, we can design by the type of water, the sound of the water. We can design zones, which we'll talk about. They're very intuitive. You don't need an instructional sign how to use it. You just come up. There's generally an activator. As Tom said, it's going to be on the ground. It's going to be on a little post, a bollard. You hit it and it runs for a series of so many minutes. You run around, you play with the equipment, it turns off, you hit the button again, and it starts over. Okay, next slide. So when we design a splash pad, we look at the different age groups and different people we're going to have at the different residents, right? So we're going to design items for those toddlers or small kids. So you're coming up in your family, maybe you're coming up in a minivan, you've got a couple of an infant, a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old. We need to make sure that water is safe, developmentally kind of ready and designed for those children. We'll talk about that. We're going to have something for the teen and the older kids because they're going to be bored with these small features. So we want water cans, we want high contact types of water, we want dumping buckets, we want that immersive feeling from a lake. And then we're going to have a family base so all the family can come back together, parents, grandparents, little kids, older kids, and all play in one safe area. In that slide. So we're going to be getting a lot of different types of experiences on a splash pad. It's not like the old days where it's just wetter is better, you dump a bunch of water on kids and they cool off. Now we're doing interactive pieces where the children can work together, so collaborative events, right? They work together, so they're working team building, they're working competitive with different items we'll have with the competing. We're going to have different types of things, tactical events with different types of water. We're going to have misting. We're going to have a lot of motion with kinetic energy, things that spin and rotate. So it's going to be a lot that you're going to see from an eye, from a sight, and from a sound, and from a feeling in your skin. So we're going to design all of that. So we actually think about all that on the front end when we design it versus just placing a bunch of components out there. Okay, next slide. So typically when we do a splash pad, we're going to design in these bays. So we're going to have a section kind of designed for the younger kids, the toddlers. It's going to be things that are lower to the ground, less intimidating. So the water is going to be softer. It's going to be safe for a 12-month-old to put their fingers in their face, and so we're going to dial everything down. We're then going to have a bit more of an exciting area, which is going to be more dynamic, a lot more running. We're going to encourage kids to move around the pad, and we're going to have things for those older kids. We're going to put that as far away from the toddlers as possible. So let's put your younger kids on one side. Let's put those items where we're actually inviting children to run and play on the other side. And then somewhere in the middle, we're going to put those items we call the family zone, where you could be a parent or grandparent holding that toddler, and all that water is going to be kind of safe for that environment. So that's going to be your family area. Okay, next slide. So there's going to be benefits to the community, right? The residents, it's going to be a place for them to get outside. I saw this kind of in the height of COVID, where people are wanting to get outside now, right? And do more recreation outside. So there's going to be that community pride, as always, when you have a splash pad in your community. People are coming from neighboring communities, bringing commerce into your community, and they want that same kind of recreational amenity, the sense of belonging. We get families out. I see a lot of moms doing Facebook posts, or they're coming out and they're meeting at the splash pad because it's a naturally safe environment. As a city, as an owner, if you have an underutilized park, it's a great way to really redevelop that park. If you have vandalism, I work with a lot of cities that have a splash pad in there. Now you have eyes at that park, let's say from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Whereas typically a dry playground, you might have a couple kids coming and going throughout the day, but now you have a lot of people at that park. And of course, the big benefit for the owner is no standing water, no lifeguard in Minnesota. And then it just depends on whether or not you want to go with the flow-through system, where it's completely automated, nobody has to be at the park, or you do a recirculating system where somebody will have to visit that park once a day, test the water, log it, things that the health department's going to require. So all splash pads, whether they're a flow-through or a recirc, are regulated by Minnesota Department of Health, the pool division. So Steve Clem, if you guys know him, if you have a pool, he regulates that. He's one that would most likely visit and inspect the pad, approve it before it's open to the general public. So you do have to have restrooms, permanent restrooms with hand wash stations, changing stalls, a drinking fountain. So it doesn't matter what kind of pad, all those require it. Really the big difference is a CPO or an AFO needs to be at that site once a day if it's a recirculating. Otherwise, it's a freshwater. They inspect it once, it's never inspected through the life of the pad. And then it's just the park maintenance staff pick up garbage, blow off the leaves, and just maintain. Okay. Next slide.
I want to jump in for a sec too here. about the benefits. You know, we have those 2 wading pools I mentioned in New Ulm that are old, but very well maintained, but they're eventually gonna die, you know, or that, you know, we're not gonna replace pumps and filters anymore or something. So when those wading pools die, we're gonna put in splash pads as replacements. Because there's just no way you can drown. We staff the wading pools, even though we don't charge admission. So I'm a huge proponent of the splash pads. We got the first one we did that Jeff did was because a donor stepped up and said, hey, I got a bunch of money. I want to see a splash pad. So the donor woman gave us a bunch of money. The city still had to get utilities to the site and do some site work and so on. Cost the city some money. And of course, we're paying for water. But it's a fantastic opportunity for summer rec outdoors. And I just wanted to mention that. So if someone else another donor comes to us and say, hey, because this is on the north side of town. I mean, New Ulm's only like 5 miles long, but if a donor comes and says, you know what, I live on the south side, I want a splash pad. Here's 150K or 300K or whatever, build a splash pad on the south side. We will do that. All right, Jeff.
Yeah, and no, that's a good point because we do a lot of wading pool conversion. You know, Columbia Heights, we replaced the wading pool at Houston Park. Wabasha is 2 years ago, I replaced their wading pool down at the city outdoor pool. Even Mankato, the golf course in Mankato, the country club, they want me to replace their wading pool, a private organization. So because the cost could be $300,000-400,000 to replace that, and then why not put that money back into disrepairing it? So as far as like manifolds, it's just more technical. It's really the last technical slide is if it's a flow through. We have lots of solutions where you put the equipment. You don't have to have a building there. We can put it in a cabinet, start building a $100,000 restroom building just for the mechanicals. We have lots of solutions. Same thing for recirculating. We have lots of solutions as to where we can put that equipment. I'll show you in a couple of the next pictures here. So of course, this is New Ulm, that's North Park, one of the early on photos I took there. Round shape. We have the toddler zone kind of on this side, and then your water cannons and dumping buckets. We're kind of separating the different age groups there.
I'm going to jump in again.
Yeah.
The Lions Club, they love this splash pad, even though they were not donors. But they said, hey, we need an open shelter. We have this tiny little mini shelter here. The Lions Club just popped up 50 grand to put in a nice big open shelter that we can now rent for birthday parties and so on. So that just got done. The ribbon cutting is Monday.
This is the mechanical that we had right there. This is Burnsville Cliff Park down at Cliff Road in 35. So again, working with Garrett down there, it's basically a small, 2,000 square foot splash pad, kind of a snowman shape. The toddler zone is a smaller circle over here. The teen zone is kind of the water cannons and dumping bucket with some family things in the center. So I wanted to show that. It's different shapes. I'm showing.
So back to New Ulm. Right next to it is a big playground.
Yes. That's ideal if you can have a playground because the kids, even in the summer, it's 50-something degrees, that water coming out of a cold tap, right? So they get cold, they run to the playground, they get hot, they go back to the splash pad, they bounce back and forth. This is Worthington down in Centennial Lake. This is the recirculating, it's a bit larger. They were along the lakes, they wanted something nautical, so we did kind of a nautical theme with, lake creatures and a sailboat and other things. So it can be themed, to match what you're looking for. This is St. Michael. They wanted a real large dumping bucket. So you got a 30-gallon dumping bucket that comes down, immerses the children in water like a water park. And again, this is not a supervised setting. It's a flow-through splash pad, so they'll consume a bit more water, probably in the terms of about 10 million gallons. This is Cold Spring, just near St. Cloud. So we did a large site playground and splash pad and shelter and such. But here you can see we have that younger toddler zone kind of cordoned off separate. We have the larger zone for the older kids. The way that we did this was there's 2 activators, activator here and here. And you want to be responsible and sustainable with your water when you can, especially when it's a freshwater system like this. They did not recirculate this, but 5,000 square feet. So if a family comes up and they only have small kids, they hit the activator, only the water turns on in this section. So they're not wasting thousands of gallons over here. So we can design it with our controller to be more sustainable. City of Eagan down at Central Park. Again, this is the small area we put a splash pad. This is the complete pool system right here. Recirculating inside that container right there. So it's very quiet. You can sit right next to it and you don't hear it. It's very easy to maintain. Down in Rosemont, again, Central Park and Rosemont as well. They originally designed this to be ground spray only. And we have some different types of caps we put on there. So if you change your mind, you can convert that to a vertical. And they did that in a later year. Turned out really nice. So that's splash pads. Just so you can get a feel for the different shapes and sizes. We do a lot of elevated play, so let's say you have a community center. These would be supervised settings because it is above the ground now. It can be on concrete, it can be dry, or it can be in a zero depth, or it can be in a standard like wading type pool environment. So we have a lot of different structures for different ages. This is a structure actually designed for children at 2 to 5 age. So your stair treads are lower, your pipe diameters are smaller, the water is less flow. So if you're looking for something for those younger kids, it's actually designed for them. So in many cases in a pool, we'll do something like this in the zero depth. We might do a larger structure in the deeper part. Again, just some pictures so you can get a feel for the slides and types of events and activities the children can play with. This is the YMCA up in New Hope. So there we just put a little theming and put the Y on the bucket. It's a little bigger structure, but you can see it's on a splash pad. It's on a dry area with runouts on the slides. But again, as long as it's supervised, because children could jump off that and try to climb it, you want it in the supervised setting. This is the design I did for Valley Fair down at Barefoot Beach. So we did, again, another structure with a series of splash pad features around it for them. And then I just want you to see a couple photos. It can go much larger. So we can get much larger systems with integrated slides and such.
So just to clarify, these require supervision because they don't have safety surfacing below them?
Yeah, because typically in the aquatic world, you know, you're not going to have this kind of port in place you might have in a playground where you have 12-foot fall heights. You just can't get that with that kind of water. You might get like a life floor or a port in place, but it's going to be ½ inch, 3/8 to ½ inch. So yeah, just for falling. This is New Richmond, Wisconsin. I did a little project for their community center. You know, everybody has these umbrellas. They're everywhere and they consume a bunch of water. And it's just a lot of water that flows down. They wanted more interactiveness. So we said, let's go ahead and put in your zero depth, a small structure. We'll move the turtle slide. So the next picture shows what we did. So we basically installed with that. So we didn't have to do anything to the concrete. We used that existing mount that was feeding the water to that elevated umbrella. We just basically put one of our mounts in there. Now we have a complete slide structure in that same place. So other items we do that are aquatic, we do all of the inflatables outdoor in the ocean front. So if you've seen some of these green and blue and yellow items in a pool, it's by a company called Rivet. So Recreonics handles all of the Rivet product nationally indoor. We handle exclusively all of their stuff outdoor. So if you have any kind of outdoor lakefront that you want to do, we do that. Of course, we do pedal and paddle and SUPs and all that, as well as we do the aqua climb and other brand climbing walls for a pool. This is what it could look like. So anything that's an open water, sealed air type of play event that you anchor down outside a beach and you sell wristbands and the kids can go play on it. So we do a lot of that, especially with resorts like Craigan's and people like that. We do a lot of resorts with the jumping trampolines and things on the water. So the last thing we do is we can actually build man-made lakes and put recreation around the man-made lake. So we're working, for example, the city of Sturgis, and they were going to put in a multi-million-dollar aquatic center. You know, we started talking with them, and now they're going to put in a large lake, and we're going to have the inflatables, the zip lines, and all sorts of things around us. We're kind of designing that. We'll actually go out and build it, put a liner, and do that. So doesn't have to be big, but we can use different sizes.
Curious about the bottom in that lake. What did you? I mean, is that for concrete? If you wanted to do sand bottom, what is
It'd be a sand bottom. We'll dig it, dredge it. I don't have any pictures here. Then we'll put a liner in it, and we'll bring in a couple biologists to do it naturally. So you won't have to worry about like a filtration type of system, and then we'll put the sand in there. And then design the depth depending on the equipment they want. Because some of those inflatable products, the higher you go above the water, you need deeper, you know, underneath kind of thing. So we can design that as we're building. So yeah, so thank you.
Okay, Jeff will stick around because we
Yeah,
might have
questions.
questions later. Kyle, you want to come up for a bit? We're going to talk about Ninja Cross next, and then we're going to get into inside edge flooring and the light floor stuff. I'm going to pull up. I'll get over here. I'm going to pull up your website.
So I'm Kyle Rieger. I'm with Ninja Cross. If you haven't noticed, most obnoxious shirts in the world, but they get everybody's attention. My team has been building aquatic centers, water parks, and adventure parks for about 25 years. My grandpa sold pool chemicals in the 70s and 80s. My uncle started a company that became the largest water slide company in the country. And we have a gentleman on our team that's built about 100 land-based ninja courses. If you see these ninja gems or anybody seen American Ninja Warrior, people that want to monetize that craze.
Ooh, wait a second.
My assistant here, one of our first clients, is trying to get the display up here, get a little video and share some projects with you. So we have a Ninja Cross in New Ulm, Minnesota. We met We met Tom in 2019 at NRPA. We started our company in 2019. It was basically a napkin sketch, 3D renderings. Jay was there, video animations out of Indonesia or Singapore, some cheap 3D animator that put this together, and we just started selling. Luckily, with our relationships, like I said, we've done 1,500 projects. We work with sports and rec architects around Canada, USA. We do a little international work, have a partner in Germany. But Tom,
This
bid
is
on
New Ulm right
this is
here.
New Ulm. Tom bid on this and said, we're doing a renovation and expansion, and we want something unique. And the New Ulm Rec Center, we've sent clients here several times since it's been open. It's action packed. I mean, per square footage, it's amazing. They've got aqua zip and aqua climb, Intracross, the slides, pools, and it's really a great facility. So our system is patented, lowers and raises from indoor and outdoor pools in about 60 seconds. Tom, if you scroll to the very top of the website there, plays a video.
Okay.
9 out of 10 of our projects are indoor because they're open 12 months throughout the year, and monetizing this or selling it to city council, your donors, your sponsors, it just economically makes more sense when Tom's facility is only shut down 5 days a year. That being said, we do build outdoor systems, and we're quoting outdoor systems as far north as Montreal. We're doing one. I was in Fargo yesterday in North Dakota. We've got an outdoor going in up there. This is the Provo Rec Center in Utah. So talking just a bit about the system, you can do obstacle course racing, fitness training. Speaking to the fitness side of it, we're doing a job in Boise, Idaho for the Challenged Athletes Foundation. In combination with Mission 43, it should cycle back.
Okay.
This is a facility for military, police, fire, amputees, spinal cord injuries, Paralympic athletes. So super adaptable. We're building this at the University of South Dakota right now in Vermillion. They're doing a 30 million plus, well, it was 25 million until inflation. Now it's 32 million expansion.
Let me jump in a sec
Yeah.
here, Kyle. See the timer up there, upper left? We have the timing system also on both lanes, so we can have competitions and races.
So you hit the end here and you hit that stop dollar like this gentleman does. He makes it look easy. And your time gets thrown up on the display. There's even sound, music. We have lowering and deployment music. So throughout the day, you have open rec swim. You can create leagues during the week. But once a month, if you want to create an event where people actually pay to watch, they sit in the stands, you draw sponsors and donor money, you can actually create that American Ninja Warrior feel like you're on a TV show. We don't do fog, we don't do lasers, but you get the sound and the action.
So how deep is the water?
So the water depth can be as shallow as 3'6". We're doing an indoor water park up in Fargo as well. A lot of stuff going on in Fargo. 3'6", and in an indoor water park, they don't want that competitive swim like you would at a university or an athletic pool. That being said, when we're doing University of South Dakota, they wanted to know how action-packed we can make this. They're actually putting 2 systems in. So they'll have a 50-meter pool with 2 ninja crosses whenever they want. They hit a button and it lowers the water level in 60 seconds. So we can put these in dive wells. The water depth is
Yeah. In New Ulm, it's above our 6-lane lap pool. And so in the deep end where the diving blocks are, it's whatever depth it's supposed to be for competitive lap swimming diving. And then shallow end, it's not as deep, for the flip and turn. So it varies the water depth, but Kyle said the minimum is
3'6". Yeah. When we used to build water slides, we want, a child comes down disoriented, swallows some water, they can at least put their feet down and they have a head above water because they're 48 tall and your water's 42 deep. So it's just a safety thing. It's also a maturity level. Most children under 48 inches tall don't, not only do they not understand directions, but they might not follow the directions of safety. So our bread and butter is community rec. We do Ys, universities, water parks. We haven't put one on a cruise ship yet, but we're trying. Cruise ships have the money, they just don't have the space for big pools, but they've got surf machines, roller coasters, everything else. I guess to wrap up here, all of the obstacles are interchangeable. So Tom calls us someday because a widow or a sponsor, he or she says, I've got $50,000 and I want to put my name up here and we want to call it the Schmitz Family Ninja Cross. And she says, I guess what? I'm going to buy all new obstacles for lanes 1 and 2. You can interchange and like Tom mentioned, we usually have a beginner lane and advanced lane. We do single lane courses as long or as big as you want. And we get questions a lot about the roof structure for indoor facilities. Outdoor, we erect an arch, so it's our own superstructure. But indoor, we're licensed in all 50 states structurally, as well as all of Canada. We've done steel, blue lamb, timber, concrete. We haven't found a ceiling we can't do yet. We are not going to put these in, corrugated pop-up roof environments. But if you've got a nice sized rec center, community center, our point loads are pretty minimal. Our point loads are like 240 pounds to 740. And we've retrofitted as quickly as 3 days. And I think our longest install, even outdoor with our 107-foot arch, was 6 days. So we retrofit, and if anybody's ever seen Easy Dock, we use that product to install. We actually float out a scissor lift in the middle of the pool.
This is crazy. This is amazing. So it's a dock, a floating barge. It's not a dock. It's a barge. Okay, it's a floating barge. We have 4 pieces, big pieces that you hook together quite easily. You put them in the water one at a time. A few people can carry it up and put it in the pool. We store them outside. And so then, I don't know what the dimensions of those 4 barges that are hooked together. It's not huge, but then we drive a scissors lift onto it.
On the water.
A self-propelled, go up and change the light bulbs in a gymnasium. Lift,
Yeah.
scissors lift,
Genie lift, yeah.
genie lift, yeah.
It's amazing. We were
Yeah.
told early on.
And I'm like, OSHA looking at this is absurd.
Right.
There's no way OSHA would approve it. But they do. It's an approved installation and maintenance system of putting a barge in your pool and driving a scissors lift on it.
So Play Power owns Easy Dock, and they use Easy Dock all over the world for bridge maintenance. A lot of municipalities, governments, because they can't access anything over their water level. So our application is new to them, but it's used in similar ways. People don't want to drain their pools. Time consuming, costs money. And the minute you drain your pool, things start shifting and moving. And then we get 4 more phone calls from the pool builder, the architect, the owner, because it creates issues. We also don't have the time or money to build scaffolding. I passed a Great Wolf Lodge on the way up here. They're resurfacing their slides, and the scaffolding there looks like it's holding up half the building. It's like that scaffolding must take 3 weeks to build. So our budget for installation would double if we had to use scaffolding. Up in Canada, we just did a project where they put a dance floor over the pool. They were not comfortable with our dock, our barge. So we used the dance floor, as they call it, and installed. But yeah, we're adapted, whether you have a flat roof, slope roof, pitched roof, and you've got one of the first ones in Newell, Minnesota, population
14,000. Yes.
But they spend a lot and invest a lot in recreation and community, and it's been an honor working with Tom, and even got a Ninja Cross t-shirt today. They come with every purchase of 365,000 or more.
Or you buy a t-shirt for that, you get the free.
Right,
yeah.
Yes,
So-
sir.
One more quick one
Yeah.
is the deployment. It takes a matter of minutes. You push a button and this whole apparatus lowers from the ceiling to participation level. And then just like 3 minutes is all it takes to go up or down. Question?
My question would be for the outdoor systems. Obviously, you're working in extreme environments like ours, Montreal, Fargo. So you're dealing with issues relating to doing this outdoors and having to winterize. What is involved in winterizing? Because I'm sure our park maintenance division is going to be asking.
Yeah, so our first outdoor was in Houston, Texas, and we actually had a hurricane hit a few months after we installed. So we've engineered this to, I think, what's 130, 135 mile per hour winds. Then you have also the salinity in the air and all the salt water. Then you come further north and you worry about freezing. So we have weep holes like you would on a water slide tower so that water can leak out, drain, I should say. So the pipes and the columns don't burst when they freeze, when the water expands. As far as winterizing goes, everything we're using is built for an indoor aquatic center. So like Vortex, like Floor, like CRS, aluminum, stainless steel. Even our cables, our aircraft cables, are grade above stainless. They're GD 31MO aircraft cable. They're crazy. Our winch is built. It's used in industrial mines, mineral-rich environments, but you basically retract the system into the air. You don't even have to remove the obstacles. All we recommend for winterizing, obviously up here, you can detach your controller, your electronics, so they don't freeze. That's just a 30 amp electrical service, so you can take that off the wall, but there's not a lot involved. It's made to withstand the harsh environments outdoors. Even our obstacle cables are from Incord, so instead of rope, we're using a polypropylene wrapped steel cord cable. Rinse it off with potable water, and Bob's your uncle.
And Kyle, you office out of Kansas City?
Office out of Kansas City sometimes. I've been on the road for the last 3 weeks, but I do like to sleep in my own bed sometimes, like tonight. Looking forward to it. But yeah, we're based in Kansas. We've got a gentleman in Alabama, all over the country, Florida. We've got some guys up in Canada. And we're starting to ship these over to Australia, New Zealand, and we have a gentleman in Germany that covers Europe. So it's picking up. For the same cost as a small water slide tower, it's an interesting option as compared to a surf machine or something more competitive. You can put 10 people on this, so throughput's great.
Right, exactly. So when I knew we were going to be doing this expansion of our rec center in New Ulm and building a new aquatic center, and I went to the national convention. It was in Baltimore. Was that in 18 or 19? And that's where I met these guys in NRPA, Baltimore in 2019. And I said, we're going to do something cool because we're building we got to do something special with this new aquatic center. And I said, I either want to do like a flow rider, I really wanted to do a surfing machine. But then when I saw this, it's like, holy mackerel, for $350,000 instead of $2 million for a flow rider. He said, this was in the budget. So we did this, and it was a stretch for a small town, and it's not deployed 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. It's only deployed at certain times during open swim, when we have a full-blown open swim. Okay, so Kyle, thanks. Stick around for questions later. We got to keep moving. I think we'll go with, yes, Rick, come on up here. We're going to go with the light floor. Next here, let's see, is this the slideshow from beginning? Okay, introduce yourself, Rick.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rick Schomer. Actually got my start spent a lot of years in the ice rink industry. So doing rubber flooring and other things that go in the ice rink. And I moved over to Inside Edge, really because of our safety services division. We partnered with a company called Light Floor that basically supplies the flooring for splash pads and everything to create a safer environment for everyone to play on. So next slide, I'll tell you a little bit about Light Floor. By the way, Inside Edge.
Go back.
Oh,
oops. Now I'm going the wrong way.
Inside Edge and Light Floor are based in the Minneapolis area, so we're in Eagan and Light Floor is in Minneapolis. So we do work together well and often and communicate across. Inside Edge is a national flooring installation company that does some other interior services as well. So there was a good fit there. So we are the preferred and really one of the only installation arms for Light Floor. So next slide. Basically, we saw a bunch of, Jeff was taking us through a bunch of splash pads. A lot of them had concrete on it, and that's great, serves a purpose. But we always like to say that, safety surfacing on the pool decks or splash pads can improve the user experience. It's decorative. It supports inclusivity and accessibility, so the kids can run and play, and parents don't have to be watching them every second. You fall on a concrete splash pad, you might get scraped knees. On this, you won't. You'll bounce right back up. I do have samples up in my truck, so I'll grab them as soon as I'm done. And I'm also at the show tomorrow too, so stop by and see that. But one of the demonstrations we'll do is you can hold an egg up this high, and you can drop it, and 99% of the time it won't break. So patented safety technology all built into that. So next slide. So an example, this is one we did in Texas. So you can see the splash pad. and then, we'll come in, install it, cut around all the spouts and everything, so. See the decorative side of it right there. Next one. Again, it appeals to all, to the guests of all ages, abilities, and stages of development, as you can see in there. I'm just not gonna read you the slide, but it promotes development, and it does stand the test of time. We feel like if you have a decorative, safe environment, the guests are gonna stay longer, they're gonna enjoy themselves, they're gonna come back, so there's less risk of getting injured. All those things go into that, so it's really improving the play value, the play time that they're out there. Slide. One that we did in New Jersey. It's the overhead shot. So, it's not the whole area. Maybe this is either concrete or it could be a pour in place surface or whatever, but this is all the light floor project right here. Quick point on this, we have a design team. We partner with Light Floor. So if you have a vision and you want to create something like this, we can sit down, design it all, and then our installers go out there and start and install it, as you can see there. So yeah.
I just think that's great because it's a lot easier to theme a splash pad or something via that than it's trying to bend steel and make it look like something.
Right,
So
exactly.
It's a great solution.
Exactly. We got about 30 different colors, from bright to dark and then everything in between. And then as we're able to your point, design this and make features out of it instead of just having it just be a flooring surface. Slide. And talk about the guest experience. I mentioned that a second ago, but completes the design of the facility, right? You spend a lot of money and a lot of time, and you almost put in a lot of money in the recreation and in the play area and everything. And this just really brings it all together and completes that look. Does improve safety. It's NSF 50 approved, which is just basically national safety evaluation that they put on it. It's one of the only splash pad coverings out there that is NSF 50 approved. And again, it's all about having fun, right? So you want to increase that fun and the vibrant colors and all that fun stuff. So
I'm going to jump in here, Rick, too,
Please.
about so the indoor pool at our rec center that began in the 70s. It was 1-inch square ceramic tile decking, and it was super slippery when wet. And then I don't know, like about 20 years ago, which would have been around 2000. We put an epoxy surface on it and tried to mix in some silica sand to get some, less slippery stuff. But it was still slippery, okay? So I can't say enough good stuff about this Light Floor. If you've got an old pool deck, splash pad, whatever, I imagine you can put it over, ceramic tile, older facilities. So we did it for safety. I said, we have seen too many injuries on our pool deck, the indoor pool deck. And this thing, when I was at the national convention, I took my shoes and socks off and I made them pour a bottle of water on a sample. And I tried to slip and slide. And it doesn't, it's not slippery when wet. I said, you sold me, we're going to buy this. It's not inexpensive product, but it's a safety product. It's not slippery when wet. And if you do fall for some reason, you can't get hurt. So it is the best pool deck surfacing I have seen in my 40-year career. Continue, Rick.
Oh, thank you for that. I don't know to what degree, but I know some community centers that we've spoken to have called their insurance companies and have actually gotten some discounted rates because if they've applied this or really any flooring that, that's not concrete. So we always say that, make sure you call your insurance company and see if you get some better rates. I think this is Shoreview Community Center. Again, it's not just splash pads. We can do around the whole pool deck. We've done cruise ships. We've done all kinds of things. So it can go a lot of different places. Next slide. So I think this is coming to the end. We are the preferred installer of Light Floor. Again, we partner with them. We have our own safety services division that runs independent really of the company, but it's been a great partnership. Our crews are trained. They can go anywhere around the world. Matter of fact, I think next week they're going to Greece to do a Carnival cruise ship. And then they'll come back and they'll do a splash pad community in Florida. So they're going everywhere and doing everything. The custom logos and the complex themes and designs, and that takes some talent to get that laid out and get it the right way and positioned and everything. So our crews are great, and we keep training new ones because as the The sales go up, we gotta support that, so.
Wow. These 3 pictures are New Ulm.
Yep.
Of course.
So what's the lifespan of the product?
So the warranty on the product is 5 years, but like anything, if it's taken care of and maintained, you'll get well beyond that. But I mean, by, 8 to 10 years, typically you're starting to see some wear, especially in high usage areas. But it is warranty for 5 years. There are cleaning solutions that LifeFloor provides that helps encourage and make that lifespan a little bit longer.
And I think you can cut out sections that are worn
Yep.
and put in new panels. They're basically, I don't know, what are they, 2 foot square?
It can be.
These
yep,
ours
yours
are. So if something gets damaged or worn, they cut out that section and put in a new.
Yeah, so high traffic areas, a lot of times we will come in and do that. Like anything though, when you put something new in something that's been there a while, it takes 6, 8, 10 months for it to kind of look like the rest of them, but it's better than replacing the whole floor. So high traffic areas, certainly you're gonna probably replace a little bit quicker, but install warranty is 3 years, but we'll stand behind anything. And we just, it's 5 years ago, we don't care, we'll go back out there and fix whatever, but we have very few service calls on this. We do replacement tiles on occasion, but otherwise it's a great product.
Any other quick questions for Rick?
I like the egg drop. Did you talk about the egg drop?
Yeah. Yep, we're going to do that. I'll do that tomorrow at the show.
Of the exhibit hall. Go.
Yep. I didn't want to do it in here in case it broke and then I got to clean it.
Right.
But 99% of the time it doesn't break.
I've never seen it break in 10 years.
Yep. So we'll do that tomorrow. We got to run to the store.
Okay, Rick, thank you. Jake, come on up. You're next. If I can find your stuff. Okay, introduce yourself, Jay.
My name's Jay Weber. I've actually got 2 companies. One is Weber Recreational Design, which is our dry play, playground equipment, picnic shelters, basketball, anything you'd have in one of your parks, or a school playground. The other division or other company is called Recreation by Lemmy Jones, and that's our water division. Rick's not in here, but I just want to start this out. Easy Dock is a play power company. My dry play company is Miracle Recreation for our playground equipment. The minute Play Power bought Easy Dock, I called and said, hey, I'd love to rep that. I'd like to rep Fun Products. Nope, sorry, that's manufactured. That started in Minnesota. You cannot have that. Then Shoreview, Minnesota had the first LifeFloor that I ever saw. And I got back to my office, I called LifeFloor, and it's like, hey, I'm in the aquatic business and I'm a sales rep and I would like to rep that. Nope, I'm sorry, they're a Minnesota company. So I just, my dauber was down from the last 2 presentations for 2 products that I think are phenomenal that I can't sell.
It's the mecca of aquatics. Who knew? Minnesota.
Yeah, imagine that.
The land of 10,000 lakes.
All the innovation.
Yeah. So anyway, sidebar. But those 2 products are actually great products. My company, we actually manufacture commercial water slides. We also rep other products in the aquatics industry. And this is actually one of our products that we just kind of acquired the molds for. It's a 3-lane racer. And as far as I know, it's the only one in the country that we can put loops in. So it takes up a lot less space. And you get a lot more traffic down it because it is 3-lane. That one's got a spiral staircase on it, and we can configure it any way, which way. If you have an aquatic center, these fit real nice on a hill. If you've got a pool that's got a hill on it. We're just gonna flip through these.
You tell me, okay.
So this is
You're ready.
the Barry Bernstein Memorial Splash Pad at the Apple Valley Aquatic Center. This is during construction, but for this, we also sell splash pads, but Jeff, because he was presenting for Vortex, I'm not going to talk about that. But the shades are from a company called USA Shade, and most aquatics have the funbrellas, the anchor type pop-up 20-footers. We can do that as well as put something different in from a look standpoint. It's definitely a nicer visual, and we can get a lot bigger coverage if you have areas in your aquatic centers that, you want some shade on. This was our first product from our aquatics manufacturing company. It's a top bouncer. Before it had the bouncer part. We put stainless steel springs on it, so it would actually bounce the kids. That's down in Austin. And that was our first product ever made. This is the Austin water slide that we did a number of years ago, with the speed slide that has a enclosed 36-inch enclosed tube to an open. That was done when they did the renovation in 2015 or 16, I believe. This is a project we did in Colorado that their fiberglass from the company they bought it from was giving up, and they didn't want to buy all new. So we came in, did a site scan of the area and elevations for everything, and we built the new fiberglass for them to put on their existing slide. You can see it's not completed. That's during installation. And that's again another picture of that one when we're almost done with it. But if you've got older slides, we can either recondition them by taking off the old gel coat and getting it down to the substrate and then putting new gel coat on it to get additional life out of it. We do maintenance contracts to take care of that glass if you don't have the staff to do it. This is a project, we call it a photo op. It's above the banner there. It says Faribault Aquatic Center for, there you go. Where these plungers, you pull one side and it fills up slower. You pull the other side, it fills up faster. And if you flip the next one, it's got a big dump on it. So it's grandpa taking pictures of the kid trying to catch him when that water's tipping. It was very, very popular. It is very, very popular for the city of Faribault. This is Granite Falls, a little bitty town, way smaller than you. Yep. And they had a facility that they wanted a slide in, and we had to cram it in a corner. So that's about all we could get out of it. A little 270-degree turn, all stainless steel structure. Super heavy and incredibly expensive, unfortunately. But they will never have a problem with that structure.
This is the same kind of ceiling we have in our aquatic center in New Ulm, the concrete double T. And so Ninja Cross was able to bolt their system into these concrete double T's, right, in the ceiling.
That's Hutchinson during the construction of their aquatic center. That was a big boy. That was a fun project. You got, what's your daily attendance? Do you have any numbers on that, Mark?
We were over 50,000 this summer.
For the summer, yeah. Yeah,
This is Hutchinson, Minnesota.
correct.
There's a Hutchinson, Kansas, where I'm from.
Right.
Yeah.
You didn't call me when you were in town?
Read the room. Read the room.
We get calls about places we don't have, they want to rent certain things, like, where you call, well, this is Minnesota.
Yeah.
One day, I think it happened the other one too, probably.
I've had meetings in the northwest suburbs of Minnesota. I tell them I'm from Hastings, and they say, well, that's down by the Iowa border, right? Like, 20 minutes. This is the project that we did down in Iowa. It's obviously you can see what it is, but the point of this one is it's got a run out, so you don't actually always have to have a pool. We can do a run out. Your holding tank is down underground. Pump the water up, let her go. We also do these soft play features. This is our little crabby, and this actually shoots water out of the eyeballs. Monticello, Minnesota had, are you familiar with SCS? Was the feature, you've got an SCS at one of your pads. We can take those smaller SCS units, pop them out of the ground and pop in, there's a couple other pictures here, but this, go back one. The play features fit that footprint, so you're not tearing up concrete. We can retrofit it to those. Oh, I had two, Tom.
Forward.
One more, yeah. This is, anybody, Minneapolis has a park that it's called Seven Pools. It was a project that was done right after the Depression with Fed money. I think it was WPA money, I believe. That this neighborhood just absolutely loves, and it was getting so dilapidated that they wanted us to come in and redo the whole thing. So we tore out the old and put in new with a couple of artists that are concrete artists, and they stained it. So any of the theming that you see on playgrounds or buildings or splash pads or aquatic centers, these guys took it to another level. There's actually, when it's running, there's seven pools that it runs down. There's a holding tank and it recirculates back up in a park. That's That's Tom's water slide. This is up here at Grandview Lodge. Spiral staircase, enclosed figure 8 water slide. Now this is North Mankato. That photo is horrible. But there's a galvanized steel column right here that goes out to a zip line on the other end. The guys that did Seven Pools did this wall where there's actually this whole half of it is all a climbing wall. So you put in, obviously you didn't have space for something like this,
Right.
but you did Aquaclimb.
Yeah.
An Aquaclimb 2-panel, 8
Right.
foot wide. This is
Custom
25
concrete.
feet wide, custom concrete.
Concrete.
Yeah,
City of North Mankato Outdoor Aquatic Center, Spring Lake Park. Big renovation. It's been open for a couple of years now.
that's just a little bit better view. That's another unit. That's in Owatonna, popping out one of those SCS units that you may or may not have in your cities and dropping our climbable play feature onto it. That's Red Wing did the same thing. And that is Valley Fair. We reconditioned all of those slides so they can get another 5 to 10 years out of it before they renovate their water. And you can't see this, and I knew this was going to be super small. We're the only company that we're aware of in the world that manufactures a retractable zip line. There you go.
I'm getting late. No, I'm having technical problems.
That's okay. So the zip line that is at Hutchinson and the one at North Mankato, there's one in Como Park. You have to reel back in the trolley so the next kid can grab it. We've got it to where it's a self-retracting. Kids go down, the trolley comes back by itself. You don't have to have somebody at the front end to, up on top of the tower to pull the rope. Go to that last one, Tom. Or, yeah,
You want the last one?
just,
With the vehicle?
yeah.
Oh, no, it's asking me, how am I gonna open it? Media player.
Player's fine. This may or may not go. There it goes. Okay, this is our OSHA approved prototype test of the retractable zip line. See it go back up? Off of a lull that had a pallet on it, that one of the guys at the steel shop wanted to test it.
They
So
said
they-
start running while
Yeah,
you're in the
and
air.
he's got to run out because he's there's no poop. Right. But that was our, I shouldn't say it was OSHA.
We erected the first ninja cross over concrete.
Yeah, have to. Make sure it works.
Okay,
That's it.
we're out of time, but I'm gonna see if I could just at least mention a couple of things here. Let's see, the Flow Rider, you can go to their website. They were gonna come today, but couldn't. So Flow Rider, and there's a number of different other brands of surfing machines. This is just one brand of surfing machines. And then the key log, I was going to try to bring up here. She came last year. I think this is Minnesota made. If you haven't seen these, they're totally cool. You can do log rolling in a pool or a lake. We've got one, and It doesn't get used all the time, but it's a lot of fun. And that's it. We're out of time. The reps will stick around if you have specific questions for the reps. And I think some will be at the exhibit hall tomorrow. Make sure you check that out and do your evaluation and leave it by the door or with Marv. Thanks for being our room host, Marv. We didn't have any arguments or fights, so you didn't have to step in with your bouncer abilities.
Right.
Have a great rest of the day. Danke schön and auf Wiedersehen.
Recording off?
Gotta end recording.
All I'm gonna be doing is hanging out at the airport. Well,
Like super slippery, and there's a lot.
I guess I'm gonna go eat airport food and working on it. I don't see any more of those brochures, they're all in our car in the case for that one. Yeah, that's probably. Where are you from? Are you the moderator or are you the citizen?
No, I'm gonna.
Do it as well.
Okay, cool. What's the name of the- Okay, I used to build splash pads, all over Midwest East. So,